Welcome back to the Peace and Dharma channel. If this is your first time visiting our channel, please don't forget to click the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss a lecture on Buddhist teachings that will help you find peace and wisdom in life. Our channel strives to bring you the true and profound values of the Buddha's teachings, aiming to help you live serenely and freely in any circumstance. Today, we will explore one of the important and profound principles in Buddhism, the principle of adapt to conditions without changing. This topic not only helps us understand the difficulties in life but also points out the path of practice that leads us to true peace. In this ever-changing world, where everything is in constant flux, how can we maintain inner stability? How can we live in such a way that no matter how circumstances change, we can still keep our peace of mind and not be swayed? The answer lies in the principle of adapt to conditions without changing. Adapt to conditions without changing is not an easy concept to explain, and for many people, it can be difficult to practice in daily life. But that is exactly why understanding and applying this principle correctly can help us become truly peaceful individuals. So, what does adapt to conditions without changing mean? It doesn't refer to changing our nature to fit every situation, but rather being flexible in our actions and thoughts while maintaining our true essence, unaffected by the storms of life. When we speak of adapting to conditions, it means we must accept the circumstances, not resist what we cannot change. We must learn to live with the flow of life, not to let it carry us away, but to understand that everything has a cause and effect, and in each situation, we can learn something valuable. However, adapting to conditions does not mean forgetting our true nature or the genuine purpose of our lives. The principle of being unchanging is the most important aspect of this concept. No matter how much we adapt, no matter how we change our actions or words to fit every situation, our inner essence must always remain pure, true, and compassionate. Think about it. Life presents us with many circumstances, from happiness and joy to sorrow and disappointment. In difficult times, we sometimes feel lost and unsure of what to do. But if we understand that everything that happens in life has a reason, that it is all part of a process of arising and passing, we will experience less anger and suffering when facing challenges. Adapting to conditions means not resisting, not avoiding, but accepting and acting with mindfulness, understanding that everything is part of a natural process of transformation. And unchanging refers to a steadfastness in the soul, an inner stability that remains unshaken no matter how the world around us may change. However, understanding adapt to conditions without changing is not easy. To practice this principle in life, we need deep awakening, persistence, and patience. Together, we will dive deeper into the aspects of this principle, exploring how to apply it in our daily lives, and thereby find true peace in our hearts. To do so, we need to practice meditation, cultivate wisdom, and live with compassion for all beings. Therefore, if you are someone seeking inner peace and stillness, do not hesitate to follow the upcoming videos on the Peace and Dharma channel. We will share valuable lessons from the Buddha's teachings, stories from Zen masters, and teachings from enlightened teachers, so you can apply these values in your life. Remember, life is a continuous flow, and we cannot control everything. But if we live, adapt to conditions without changing, we will find peace within ourselves, regardless of the changes and challenges outside. So, are you ready to embark on the journey to explore, adapt to conditions without changing? We will delve deeper into this principle, learning how to apply it in life so that our minds are always peaceful, clear, and free. Continue following and join me in the upcoming teachings. Don't forget to like, share, and spread these values with your friends and family, because the truly beautiful things in life only become meaningful when we share and spread them together. Greetings, everyone. In this section, we will explore some special stories from Buddhist masters who have practiced the principle of adapt to circumstances but remain unchanged in their lives. These stories not only teach us lessons on patience and compassion but also serve as living examples of the inner peace and freedom we can achieve when living according to this principle. One famous story in Buddhism is about the Zen master Linji, one of the greatest Zen masters in the history of Chinese Buddhism. He taught the principle, adapt to circumstances, but remain unchanged. However, this phrase was not just advice, it was a method of practice. Linji didn't just talk about theory. He lived it. There is a story where one day, while Linji was meditating, a student came and asked, "Master, how can I be free from the troubles of life?" Instead of answering directly, Linji gently asked, "Do you know why water flows?" The student, surprised, responded, "Water flows because there is change, because there is an external force acting on it." Linji smiled and said, "Just like this, your mind, like water, will only remain pure when you learn to live in harmony with circumstances, without stubbornness, without clinging to thoughts or emotions. Let your mind flow with life, like water flowing freely, without being hindered by worries or anything else." This story illustrates that Linji not only taught through theory but offered a practical way of living the principle of adapt to circumstances but remain unchanged. It means living with the flow of life without being dominated by external circumstances. The mind must remain clear and calm, unaffected by outside events. Linji's story is just one example of how the principle of adapt to circumstances but remain unchanged can be practiced. From these Buddhist masters, we learn an important lesson. Life doesn't always unfold according to our wishes, but we can choose how to face and respond to it. By learning to adapt, we are not swept away by the challenges of life but can maintain peace within. In addition to Linji, there is another revered master, Bodhidharma. He taught his disciples that in life, we cannot predict what will happen, but we can learn to respond to each situation wisely and peacefully. One story about Bodhidharma goes like this. While he was meditating under a pine tree, a student approached and asked, "Master, how can I avoid suffering?" Bodhidharma did not answer immediately but instead asked, "When the wind blows, can you stop the wind?" The student responded, "No, I cannot." Bodhidharma nodded and said, "In the same way, suffering is like the wind, it comes and goes. The important thing is whether you can maintain your peace of mind, unaffected by it." This answer not only offers philosophical insight but also practical guidance. The challenges and worries we face are not things we can stop or avoid, they come and go, like the wind. The key is whether we can maintain our inner calm, regardless of the turbulence outside. These stories from Buddhist masters help us understand the concept of adapt to circumstances but remain unchanged. It is not simply about accepting what happens but also about preserving our inner peace despite external changes. Adaptation means harmonizing with our circumstances, but remaining unchanged means holding on to our core values, our true essence, no matter what life brings. Buddhism is not just about theory, it is a practice of living. The masters always encourage us not only to understand but to apply these teachings in our daily lives. In every moment, we can apply the principle of adapt to circumstances but remain unchanged to deal with events, emotions, and challenges that life presents. When we talk about Buddhist masters, we are not only referring to those who have renounced the world and teach Buddhist teachings, but also to those who live with great wisdom, understanding the nature of life and themselves. These masters didn't just understand Buddhist theory, more importantly, they have deeply experienced and practiced the teachings of the Buddha. One of the key principles they consistently taught is, adapt to circumstances but remain unchanged, a principle that allows us to live peacefully and serenely in any situation. Adapt to circumstances but remain unchanged is not an easy concept to grasp at first. It combines the understanding of reality with the ability not to be swept away by the changes and upheavals of life. To truly live by this principle, one must understand the impermanent nature of the world and act with awareness. It is about maintaining peace of mind in the face of suffering, worry, or situations that cannot be controlled. At a deeper level, adapt to circumstances but remain unchanged involves recognizing that everything in life is interconnected and nothing lasts forever. Any event, whether joyful or sorrowful, successful or failure, is just a part of the endless flow of life. A person who practices this principle will not lose their composure because of these events, for they understand that everything comes and goes for a reason. This principle also teaches us about the importance of letting go. Letting go does not mean abandoning everything in life but not clinging to temporary things. When we cling to fame, wealth, or even relationships, we easily lose our serenity because these things can change or be lost. Therefore, letting go frees us to live more freely, without fear of life's changes. We no longer overreact to life's challenges but instead face them calmly and wisely. It is important to note that, adapt to circumstances but remain unchanged, does not mean being lax or irresponsible. On the contrary, it is wisdom in action. It is knowing when to act and when to remain silent. Living in harmony with circumstances is not about neglecting everything. It is about understanding the situation and choosing the appropriate response. In this adaptability, we do not lose our essence, nor do we let external circumstances alter our core values. Therefore, to practice, adapt to circumstances but remain unchanged, in our daily lives, we need to cultivate mindfulness in every moment. Mindfulness helps us recognize that every situation, every relationship, and every emotion is an inseparable part of life. We must understand that everything is an opportunity to learn, grow, and overcome challenges, rather than viewing it as an obstacle or misfortune. One of the profound values of adapt to circumstances but remain unchanged is inner freedom. When we are no longer controlled by negative emotions such as greed, anger, or delusion, we can see things more clearly. In such moments, we are not swept away by the storms of life, yet we maintain peace in our hearts. This peace does not come from avoiding difficulties, but from the ability to face everything with calmness and without judgment. So how can we practice the principle of adapt to circumstances but remain unchanged in everyday life? First, we need to learn to accept the changes and losses that life brings and not let them negatively affect our mental state. We must understand that everything follows its natural course. In accepting this, we can be more at ease in how we face the world. Another important aspect of adapt to circumstances but remain unchanged is the ability to self-reflect and self-adjust. This is not about surrendering, but rather practicing wisdom in how we live, knowing when to stop, when to listen to ourselves and to the world around us. When we can do this, serenity and peace will no longer feel distant, but become a natural part of our lives. Thus, throughout our journey of learning the principle of adapt to circumstances but remain unchanged, we have explored the profound teachings of Buddhism and how this principle helps us live peacefully and serenely, regardless of the circumstances. The Buddhist masters have taught us that while life is impermanent, our understanding and practice of this principle can help us remain unaffected by the fluctuations of the world. Keeping peace within our hearts. Always remember, the freedom and peace we seek is not found by avoiding hardship, but by facing everything with clarity, mindfulness, and letting go of unnecessary burdens. This is the strength of adapt to circumstances but remain unchanged. Throughout life, we encounter countless situations and events, sometimes highs and lows, moments of peace, and other times, challenges. Each of us experiences times when we feel swept along by the flow of life, losing our direction and inner peace. It is in these moments that people often turn to Buddhism, especially Zen, to regain tranquility and guidance. One of the core principles in Zen, and one of the most important lessons for every Zen practitioner, is adaptability and unchanging. But how can we truly understand and apply this in our daily lives? Imagine you are meditating. In front of you is a tranquil scene of nature, gentle breezes blowing, birds singing softly, clouds drifting lazily across the sky. But then, a mosquito flies close and bites you. At that moment, your mind may become unsettled, and unpleasant emotions, even anger, may arise. In this situation, Zen does not teach you to avoid or suppress these emotions. On the contrary, Zen teaches us to be adaptable, meaning, to accept all emotions and circumstances as they are, yet remain unchanged in the soul, not letting them control us or disturb our inner nature. In Zen, adaptability means not resisting the circumstances. You do not try to change things according to your desires. You accept everything as it unfolds naturally, and in doing so, your mind becomes flexible and fluid, like flowing water, always adjusting to the environment without being harmed. However, unchanging refers to deep stability within the soul, remaining unshaken by external changes. You maintain your true nature, your inner peace, and are not swept away by emotions or external circumstances. You may have heard the story of Zen Master Su Yun, one of the greatest Zen masters in Chinese Buddhism. He was not only a teacher but also a living example of adaptability and unchanging. Once, when Master Su Yun was meditating in a small temple, a monk visited and asked him how to achieve enlightenment. Master Su Yun remained silent and pointed to a teacup on the table, asking the monk to pour tea into it. The monk did so, but failed to notice that he had poured too much tea, causing it to overflow. Master Su Yun looked at him and said, "Just like this teacup, if it's full and there's no space left, how can it receive anything more?" He wanted to show that only when your mind is like an empty cup, free of cluttering thoughts, emotions, and attachments, can you receive the truth and enlightenment in each moment of life. This reflects the true essence of Zen, not to resist, not to seek, but simply to live adaptively, accepting everything as it is, and keeping your mind unchanging in every circumstance. Similarly, we can learn from other great Zen masters, such as Zen Master Bodhidharma. Once, when he traveled to China to spread Buddhist teachings, he did not answer any of the questions posed by his disciples. Instead, he simply sat silently, entering a deep state of meditation, like a mirror reflecting everything around him. The disciples, losing patience, asked him, "Master, how can we attain enlightenment?" Zen Master Bodhidharma responded with just one sentence, "Look into your heart." He taught that enlightenment is not something that comes from outside, but is a waking up from within each person. One's mind must remain unchanging, not influenced by external events or emotions, in order to clearly see the true nature of all things. In the same way, in our daily lives, we will encounter situations that don't go as planned, difficulties, and challenges. When you fail, when you face problems in work or relationships, you may feel pain and sorrow. But remember, suffering is not something we must avoid, but an opportunity to train our minds. If you always remember that adaptability means living with reality, living with what is happening, and unchanging means maintaining inner peace, then no matter what circumstances you face, you will not be defeated. Let us return to the story of Zen Master Su Yun. Once, while he was practicing in a deep forest, a great storm arrived. The rain poured, and strong winds blew, knocking down trees. Yet, while everyone else panicked and sought shelter, Zen Master Su Yun continued meditating in the rain. He didn't rush to protect himself or flee. Instead, he simply meditated. Calm and undisturbed, knowing that the rain would pass and the storm would calm. His peace was rooted in his mind, unaffected by external conditions. Thus, adaptability and unchanging is a way of living that each of us needs to learn and practice. When life does not go as expected, we do not need to resist or fight back. We simply need to accept everything with a calm heart, unaffected by disturbances. Yet, throughout this process, we must also preserve our true nature, not being swept away by emotions, not dependent on circumstances. This is the path that Zen teaches us to follow. Finally, remember that adaptability does not mean living passively or irresponsibly. It means living harmoniously with nature, with what is happening in life, while remaining unchanging in the heart, maintaining virtue, mindfulness, and inner peace. In the most difficult moments of life, let your heart be like a mirror, reflecting the wisdom of the Buddha's teachings. Learn from the Zen masters, live with adaptability and unchanging, so that each day becomes a day of peace and serenity in every step you take. We have just explored the theory and stories of Buddhist masters, as well as the profound concepts related to adaptability and unchanging. In this section, we will delve into the most practical and urgent question: how can we apply this principle in our daily lives? When facing countless challenges in our work, in relationships with family and friends, and even within ourselves, how can we truly maintain inner peace and equanimity, like a true practitioner, even while living in this ever-changing world? First, to apply adaptability and unchanging, we need to understand one crucial point: the path is not about escaping the world, but about living fully within it with a clear, calm mind that is not swayed by circumstances. When we speak of adaptability, we do not mean living passively following whatever happens without intervention. Adaptability means living in a way that aligns with circumstances, but not letting those circumstances dictate our soul. Unchanging does not mean being rigid or conservative, but rather remaining steadfast in our essence, in inner peace and wisdom, despite the changes happening around us. What is adaptability? Adaptability is the ability to adjust to any situation in life without losing our true self. A person who practices adaptability is not someone easily swayed by change, not someone who lives solely based on emotions or circumstances, but someone who can observe and understand all events from a deep, calm perspective, and from there, take appropriate actions without being disturbed. To do this, we must cultivate the ability to live mindfully, a very important skill in the practice of meditation. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness is not about focusing on every tiny detail, but the ability to live fully and be present in each moment, without letting the mind get carried away by worries about the past or future. When we live in mindfulness, we can see everything more clearly, not clinging to anything, and not rushing into judgments or reactions. This helps us to respond to life calmly, wisely, and appropriately. What is unchanging? Unchanging does not mean unchanging in the literal sense. It is the ability to maintain inner stability despite the continuous changes of the external world. A person who practices unchanging is one who can maintain inner peace, unaffected by negative emotions such as anger, fear, or despair, even when facing difficulties in life. This is the most important point in applying adaptability and unchanging. While the outside world is always changing, our soul can still maintain calm and peace. The reason why unchanging is so important in Zen and Buddhism is that only when we have peace of mind can we perceive and act correctly. When we are not swept away by strong emotions, when our soul is no longer disturbed by external events, we can truly live a fulfilling and peaceful life. This does not mean that we do not feel challenges or suffering, but it is the ability to face them with equanimity, not letting them affect our soul deeply. One can practice adaptability and unchanging in all situations of life. For example, in work, when encountering difficulties or failures, instead of feeling discouraged or angry, we can see it as an opportunity to learn and grow. When facing challenges in relationships, instead of being swept away by negative emotions such as anger or resentment, we can maintain inner stillness, not reacting hastily but thinking wisely, deeply, and acting in a way that reflects compassion and wisdom. In daily life, this can be practiced through very specific actions. When we encounter difficult situations, instead of avoiding or reacting with anger, we can take a deep breath, regain our calm, and ask ourselves, why is this happening? How can I view the situation wisely, without letting emotions control me? It is in moments like these that we truly practice adaptability and unchanging, living calmly and peacefully no matter the circumstances. The Buddha's teaching in the Anguttara Nikaya also includes a famous passage about living with adaptability without being disturbed. Let things come naturally, do not try to change them, but in your heart, maintain peace. This shows us that adaptability is not passivity, but the ability to flexibly adjust to everything that happens while maintaining a peaceful and undisturbed essence. Applying the principle of adaptability and unchanging to daily life is a long-term process, requiring patience and diligence in each moment. Every day, we need to practice self-awareness, viewing everything from an open perspective, without judgment or criticism, simply living in the present with all our mindfulness and awareness. The most important thing is that in every action, word, and thought, we must maintain our unchanging essence, compassion, wisdom, and clarity. This is where adaptability and unchanging come together, helping us live in harmony with all circumstances, yet still maintaining purity in our hearts. When we practice adaptability and unchanging, we not only make our lives easier and more peaceful but also bring benefits to those around us. Because the peace in our hearts will influence the environment and relationships, helping us live in harmony, understanding, and love. In all circumstances, remember that no matter how much the external world changes, the peace within us can remain unshaken. It is this unchanging peace that forms the foundation for practicing adaptability, being flexible and adaptive, but never losing our true self. In modern life, we constantly face continuous changes: work, relationships, health, and unexpected events. These changes are not always easy to accept, and they can even cause feelings of insecurity, worry, and sometimes confusion. Therefore, the principle of adaptability and unchanging becomes even more important, as it helps us maintain inner strength, no matter how unstable the external circumstances may be. Adaptability and unchanging does not mean being passive toward life, but the ability to adapt to every circumstance without letting it disturb the inner essence. This requires us to develop awareness and mindfulness in every situation, whether favorable or difficult. When one truly understands this principle, they will have the ability to view life not just with judgment, but with deep understanding of what is happening in each moment. An important factor in applying adaptability and unchanging is emotional management. Emotions, such as joy, sadness, anger, or fear, can strongly impact our minds. However, if we let emotions control us, life becomes a series of unconscious reactions where we are swept away by changing emotions. Adaptability and unchanging teaches us how to master our emotions. We do not deny emotions, but we do not let them control our actions. Instead, we learn to identify emotions when they arise and allow them to pass without clinging to them. This is like sitting in meditation, where we observe thoughts and emotions without judgment, without reacting. When we are not swept away by emotions, we can maintain inner peace and face every situation wisely. Another important aspect of applying adaptability and unchanging is living true to our nature. This means living authentically, not pretending or forcing ourselves to conform to the expectations of others or societal norms that we do not genuinely agree with. When we live true to our nature, we are not dependent on the changes of circumstances, because our true nature does not change. In the modern world, maintaining this unchanging essence requires us to cultivate mindfulness in every moment. To do this, we need a strong foundation, which is daily practice. Practice is not just sitting in meditation, but living each day with a mindful perspective on life. Every word, every action, every thought can become a practice of mindfulness and of adaptability and unchanging. Adaptability is the ability to live flexibly, not clinging to the past or worrying about the future. It is the ability to work, study, and communicate naturally, comfortably, without being restricted or forced. When we practice adaptability, we are not bound by time or space but live fully in each present moment. It is a life without haste, without fear, but one that enjoys each second, whether it is a joyful or difficult moment. Unchanging, on the other hand, is inner steadfastness, not being shaken by external challenges. It does not mean we must remain emotionless or unchanging, but it is the strength to uphold our values and life ideals. We can be flexible in our actions but never lose our essence and goals. In life, there will always be times when we must make important decisions. And in those moments, without unchanging steadiness, we can easily lose our way. This steadiness is not rigidity or stubbornness, but the flexibility of the soul, knowing when to change, but always maintaining inner peace. Adaptability and unchanging is the harmonious combination of the ability to adapt to every circumstance and the unchanging determination in the face of challenges, maintaining an undisturbed soul. Applying this principle in daily life helps us overcome suffering, difficulties, and insecurity. When we live according to adaptability and unchanging, we are no longer bound by external factors. We no longer worry about what we cannot control, no longer fear challenges, but live with a clear and peaceful mind, knowing that everything will come and go in its own way. In this impermanent world, only inner peace is eternal. In conclusion, applying the principle of adaptability and unchanging is not easy, but if we practice every day, little by little, we will find that life becomes lighter and our hearts become more expansive. The important thing is that when we live in each moment, not clinging to anything, not fearing change, we have truly understood and applied this profound principle of Zen into our daily lives. And thus, we will have a life of peace, tranquility, and happiness, no matter the circumstances. In Zen Buddhism, adaptability and unchanging is not a contradiction between change and stability, but a subtle combination of flexible adaptation to circumstances and preserving one's true nature. This is reflected in the fundamental principles of Zen, where a practitioner does not seek to change the world around them, but rather transforms themselves to live in harmony with all circumstances. Anyone who has stepped onto the Zen path understands that to attain true peace, it is not about overcoming life's challenges and difficulties, but how we face and accept them naturally and with tranquility. Zen teaches, live in the world without being controlled by the world. This is the power of maintaining the unchanging within the heart, no matter how the world around us may change. One of the key points in Zen Buddhism is to know yourself. Truly understanding and recognizing your own nature, your heart, is the foundation for applying the principle of adaptability and unchanging. In life, each person will encounter inevitable ups and downs. However, if we do not have awareness of our own mind, if we do not know who we truly are, then adaptability can easily turn into confusion and instability, causing the heart to lose its balance and stability. Zen Buddhism teaches us that maintaining the unchanging does not mean closing ourselves off, avoiding change, or not responding to the world, but rather the ability to maintain mindfulness in all circumstances. Mindfulness is the ability to bring the mind back to the present, without being swept away by the past or worrying about the future. When we are able to live with mindfulness, nothing can disturb the peace of our hearts, no matter how the circumstances may change. Imagine a river. No matter how many winds or storms it faces, it always flows toward the ocean naturally. In Zen Buddhism, adaptability and unchanging is like that river. The river's essence is not altered by the wind or rain, but it constantly changes to adjust to the surroundings it flows through. This is how we should live with the world, not clinging to a fixed form, but maintaining clarity and peace in the heart. A very clear example in Zen Buddhism is the story of Zen Master Lin Mo, known for his deep understanding and practice of adaptability and unchanging. One time, while he was meditating, a student asked him, "Master, why do you not change your sitting posture, even though your legs have become numb?" Zen Master Lin Mo simply smiled and replied, "Numbness is a feeling of the body, but the essence of my mind is not affected by that feeling. I still maintain my heart, even though my body may hurt or be numb." Through this, Zen Master Lin Mo taught his disciple a valuable lesson about the unchanging mind. Pain and difficulty are inevitable in life, but the mind is not affected by external factors, and this is the key to maintaining inner peace. In any situation, if we understand our true nature and keep mindfulness, nothing can disturb the stillness within us. However, it is important to note in Zen Buddhism that adaptability does not mean running away from suffering or failure, but learning how to accept suffering and transform it into an opportunity to purify the mind. When we are able to see the impermanent nature of all things, we will no longer cling to a form, an event, or a fixed outcome. It is this non-attachment, this inner freedom, that Zen emphasizes. And this is unchanging in a world that is in constant flux. Practicing adaptability and unchanging in daily life can be reflected in very simple actions. When we work, we should do so wholeheartedly, but not cling to the results. When faced with difficulties, we should accept them as a natural part of life and find ways to overcome them without disturbing our mind. When we are happy, we should enjoy that happiness fully, but not forget that it is only a momentary experience, a change. And when we are sad, we should accept that sadness without letting it control our soul. In Zen Buddhism, adaptability and unchanging is not about resistance or avoidance. It is about harmony and stillness in every change, in every circumstance. Learning to live this way is not easy, but it is a journey of cultivation, of constantly looking within and transforming ourselves to live with peace in this world. Mindfulness, stillness, and non-attachment, these are the means by which we can practice adaptability and unchanging in everyday life. When we understand this philosophy, we will realize that nothing in life can shake the firmness of our hearts, whether in storms or calm. In the previous section, we explored how to apply the principle of adapting to conditions without being changed in everyday life. However, an important question remains: how can we truly develop our inner selves and train our minds to live this principle deeply and sustainably? Life is filled with unpredictable events. When everything around us changes quickly, it's easy to feel insecure, anxious, and even disappointed. However, if we cannot change our circumstances, we can change how we perceive and respond to them. In these moments, inner development and mental training become crucial. The principle of adapting to conditions without being changed will serve as a guiding light, helping us maintain inner peace, regardless of how the world around us unfolds. Developing inner peace, a process of self-awareness and control. Inner development is the process of becoming aware of and controlling our emotions, thoughts, and actions. When we have a stable inner self, not swayed by every situation, we can face any challenges life presents without being harmed or losing our peace. However, inner development is not easy. To apply the principle of adapting to conditions without being changed effectively, we need patience, self-discipline, and constant practice. The key is not just understanding the theory but practicing it daily, in every moment of life. The first step in developing inner peace is self-awareness. We must be clear about where we stand, how we feel, and how we are reacting to our circumstances. Sometimes, we easily lose our calm when faced with unexpected events, feeling swept away by the current of emotions. The principle of adapting to conditions without being changed reminds us that everything has a cause, everything is connected. Therefore, when something happens, we should pause and ask ourselves, is this situation really important enough for me to let my emotions control me? How can I change my perspective and response to maintain inner peace? Training the mind for stability. Once we are aware of ourselves, the next step is to train the mind to be steadfast. In challenging situations, we may feel confused and lost. But if we can keep our mind steady, like a mountain unshaken by a storm, we can easily overcome difficulties. In Buddhist teachings, it is said that a peaceful mind is one that is not controlled by fluctuating emotions. We must focus on developing a steady and clear mind, unaffected by external changes. To do this, continuous practice is necessary, such as daily meditation. Through meditation, we learn to observe our thoughts and emotions without letting them control our actions. Adapting without being swept away. The next step in inner development is learning to adapt to conditions without being swept away by them. This means not resisting circumstances but also not allowing ourselves to be carried away by the changes. In life, we often face disappointments, failures, losses, or unwanted changes. However, adapting to conditions without being changed is the ability to accept these changes without losing inner peace. We can cultivate this ability by practicing letting go. Letting go does not mean giving up, it means not clinging to things beyond our control. When we stop clinging to external things, we can live freely and peacefully. Compassion and forgiveness, essential for inner peace. An important factor in inner development is compassion and forgiveness. Buddhist teachings tell us that we cannot live in peace if our hearts are full of anger and resentment. When we hold on to negative emotions, we create an inner storm that never settles. Compassion and forgiveness are not only for others but also for ourselves. We are often very harsh on ourselves when we make mistakes, but if we learn to forgive ourselves, we will feel lighter and more at peace. This inner peace makes it easier to maintain calm and balance in the face of external challenges. Integrating, adapting to conditions without being changed into daily life. As we mentioned earlier, the principle of adapting to conditions without being changed is not just an abstract concept in Buddhist philosophy but a profound practice in daily life. This means we cannot merely theorize about it, we need to practice it every day. In every moment of life, from dealing with daily challenges to managing our emotions and moods. In Buddhism, it is often said, the mind is the root of all suffering. When the mind is disturbed, everything we see and feel is clouded. Therefore, training and developing our inner selves is a prerequisite for applying the principle of adapting to conditions without being changed. The importance of mindfulness. Peace of mind does not come easily. To achieve inner peace, we must first understand that the mind is the source of all fluctuations. Our minds can change with each thought, emotional reaction, or external influence. If we are unaware of this, our minds will easily be swept away by these fluctuations, and we will become unstable. Thus, training the mind is an ongoing process, one that does not have an end point. Once we realize this, we can focus on developing mindfulness, or being present, in every moment. Mindfulness is the ability to fully and deeply perceive what is happening right now, without letting our minds wander to the past or worry about the future. When we are mindful, we can keep our minds calm in any situation, whether joyful or sorrowful, successful or unsuccessful. This is the foundation that allows us to practice adapting to conditions without being changed effectively. Mindfulness helps us realize that everything in life is interdependent, it arises and passes away continuously, and nothing lasts forever. Therefore, when we do not cling to temporary emotions, do not hold on to the past, or fear the future, our minds become tranquil and able to flow with the current of life. Practicing mindfulness, the path to steadfastness. Mindfulness is not merely about focusing on the present moment, it also involves observing our emotions and thoughts without reacting impulsively. For example, when something unexpected happens, instead of letting negative emotions like anger or sadness take over, we can pause, recognize these emotions, and let them pass without letting them influence our actions. This does not mean we should suppress our emotions, but rather that we learn to prevent them from controlling us. Adapting to conditions without being changed here means accepting what happens in life as it is, without allowing it to overwhelm us or disturb our inner peace. When we practice mindfulness, we learn to accept and change ourselves without getting swept up in the external fluctuations. However, to practice mindfulness effectively, we need patience and endurance. No one can change immediately, especially when facing long-standing habits or strong emotions. Therefore, this process requires us to be patient and understand that each step is a gradual progression. The change in our inner selves takes time to develop and solidify. Small practices for big change. We can begin with small daily practices. When we wake up, spend a few moments to take deep breaths and feel each breath coming in and going out. When working, instead of letting our minds wander, focus entirely on each task. When interacting with others, instead of reacting automatically, observe your emotions and adjust your response. These small practices, when done consistently, will help our minds become stronger, steadier, and more peaceful. A clear mind, the mirror analogy. Our minds are like a mirror. If the mirror is cloudy or dusty, we cannot see things clearly. Similarly, if our minds are cluttered with negative emotions and worries, we cannot perceive life clearly. When we practice adapting to conditions without being changed, we are also cleaning the mirror of our minds, allowing it to reflect everything clearly, without distortion from personal emotions and thoughts. Conclusion: inner development as a continuous process. To truly develop our inner selves and train our minds, we must practice consistently, continuously observing and adjusting ourselves, so that no circumstance, whether favorable or challenging, can disturb our inner peace. When we achieve inner peace, we will be able to fully embody adapting to conditions without being changed, not just in our thoughts but also in our actions and emotions. Thus, developing our inner selves and training our minds through this principle is not something distant or abstract. It is a practice in every moment of life. By practicing mindfulness, patience, and avoiding impulsive reactions to emotions, we gradually achieve tranquility and become capable of facing life's difficulties without being swept away by negative emotions. And from there, the principle of adapting to conditions without being changed becomes an inseparable part of how we live, helping us live fully and peacefully no matter how the circumstances change. So, developing inner peace and training the mind through the principle of adapting to conditions without being changed is a continuous, unceasing process. We may not be able to change everything that happens in life, but we can change how we respond and perceive everything. By developing inner peace, training the mind, and maintaining calmness within, we will not be swept away by life's storms, but will live a life of tranquility and freedom. Every day, let us practice adapting to conditions without being changed, so that each challenge becomes an opportunity for growth and steadiness. Through this, we will truly live according to this Buddhist principle, mastering ourselves in every situation, undisturbed by the changing world. From there, we will find peace in our hearts, no matter how the world shifts. Now, let's dive into the practical steps to implement the principle of unchanging in adaptation in daily life. This principle is not just theoretical, but a real method of living that helps us maintain inner peace and tranquility, even in the most challenging situations. To do this effectively, we must understand each step and how to apply it in different circumstances. Before we start, we need to acknowledge that unchanging in adaptation is not an easy concept to follow. It demands patience, mindfulness, and determination in every action. However, if you truly understand and practice it, you will experience peace and serenity within. So, how can we practice unchanging in adaptation? Life is always changing, and nothing is permanent. The essence of adaptation lies in the understanding that every situation that comes to us has its own purpose and value. The first step in practicing unchanging in adaptation is learning to accept change without resistance, without sadness or anger. We cannot control everything. Whether it is a change in our work, relationships, or health, remember that these are all transitions of life. Instead of fighting against them, we must learn to embrace them with a calm, optimistic, and generous attitude. Once we have accepted change, the next step is to keep our mind stable in the face of life's fluctuations. The principle of unchanging means that, no matter how much things change, our minds remain steady, undistracted. One way to maintain mental stability is through the practice of meditation. Meditation helps us master our thoughts and emotions, providing inner peace and preventing us from being carried away by negative feelings. Taking just a few minutes every day for meditation can clear your mind and bring you back to yourself. Additionally, mindfulness practice is crucial. Mindfulness allows us to stay aware of each moment, avoiding unnecessary thoughts and worries about the future. By learning to observe ourselves and feel each moment of life, we keep our minds peaceful. Another important aspect of practicing unchanging in adaptation is compassion and forgiveness. Compassion is the love, sharing, and empathy we extend to others, even if they may hurt or upset us. Forgiveness is the ability to release anger, resentment, or sorrow. Imagine how peaceful life would be if we could view everyone and every situation around us with compassion, without judgment or harshness. Whenever dissatisfaction arises, remember that compassion helps us not only forgive others, but also frees ourselves from anger and suffering. Compassion doesn't mean giving in to others' demands, but acting with love and understanding. Forgiveness allows us to let go of grievances, freeing our minds from negativity. By learning to forgive, we make our hearts lighter and clearer. An essential part of practicing unchanging in adaptation is setting goals in life, but not becoming attached to the outcomes. When we have goals, we are motivated to move forward, but if we focus only on the result, we will easily become disappointed when things don't turn out the way we want. The key is to let go of the results. What matters is that we have done our best, giving our full effort in each action, and accepting whatever outcome comes with gratitude. No matter what happens, we will remain steady because we understand that life doesn't always go according to our plans, but we can still remain peaceful in any circumstance. To practice unchanging in adaptation in the long term, we need to build positive habits every day. These habits will help us live in harmony with this principle and create a solid foundation for our soul. Some of these habits include meditation and mindfulness practice. Dedicate at least 10 to 20 minutes each day to sit in meditation, focusing on your breath and observing your body and mind. You can also practice mindfulness in everyday activities like eating, walking, or working. Compassion practice. Every day, take some time to think about the people around you and find ways to show love and empathy towards them, whether through a simple greeting, a smile, or a small act of kindness. Forgiveness practice. Whenever you feel hurt or angry, practice letting go of negative emotions and replacing them with forgiveness. This not only helps you free yourself from pain, but also brings peace to your soul. Practicing unchanging in adaptation in life is not easy, but with persistence, you will notice positive changes in how you face life. You will experience inner peace, serenity, and happiness in every circumstance. Remember, this principle is not just a theory but a practical method that can be applied in every action, in every moment of your life. Start with small steps each day, and you will find that your life becomes lighter and more meaningful. May you always remain peaceful and serene, living in accordance with the principle of unchanging in adaptation in every moment of your life. Greetings to everyone. We've come a long way together, starting from exploring the principle of unchanging in adaptation to deeply understanding how to apply this principle in our daily lives. Throughout the previous sections, we have explored the peace and tranquility this principle can bring to the soul, and we've practiced ways to maintain calmness even in the face of life's endless fluctuations. Now, as we reach the final part of this journey, we must pause to reflect, review what we have learned, and think about how we can apply it in our everyday lives. Let's summarize what we've covered so far. 1. Understanding the principle of unchanging in adaptation. We have learned that this principle helps us face all circumstances without being disturbed, maintaining inner peace and serenity. This does not mean avoiding problems, but rather learning to accept and adapt to any situation without letting it weaken our soul. Tui Duyin, adaptation, is the flexibility and ability to adjust to any situation, while Bat Bien, unchanging, is the ability to maintain the strength of our mind and core principles, regardless of external changes. 2. Applying the principle in real life. We have explored practical steps to apply this principle in various everyday situations. Through this, we realized that Tui Duyin does not mean to live passively, but rather to live consciously, proactively, yet not trying to control everything. Practicing unchanging in adaptation is a continuous journey of self-discipline and self-development. It's the ability to face change while maintaining tranquility in the soul, without being controlled by external factors. 3. Developing the inner self and training the mind. To live according to this principle for the long term, it is essential to develop our inner selves and train our minds through daily lessons in Buddhist teachings. It's the ability to reflect on ourselves in each situation, becoming aware of our emotions and thoughts, and from there, choosing the most appropriate action. Cultivating the inner self is not an easy task, but with patience and diligence, every step on this path will bear valuable fruit. However, to truly apply and maintain this principle, one crucial factor that we cannot overlook is patience and understanding. We must understand that in this life, everything follows its own course, and every incident, challenge, or success is part of a larger process that we cannot fully control. Therefore, instead of becoming overly stressed or worried about things outside our control, we can focus on managing our attitude. This is how we practice the principle of unchanging in adaptation. Advice for applying the principle in your life: accept change. One of the most important lessons we need to learn is acceptance. Accept that nothing is permanent, and everything changes. Learn to embrace change as a natural part of life, rather than resisting or fearing it. When you accept change, you will find peace within yourself. Live in the present moment. Don't let the past or future disturb your peace. Live fully in each moment, because only the present moment is real. Practice mindfulness with every action, every breath, and every step you take. When you live in the present, you will be able to handle any situation without being overwhelmed by emotions. Don't over-expect results. Buddha teaches us that results come according to conditions and cannot be forced. When we act, do not focus solely on the outcome, but rather focus on the process. Each step on this journey is a valuable lesson, and the result is just a reflection of the effort we have put in. Focus on self-cultivation, finally, to live according to unchanging in adaptation. You must continuously cultivate yourself. Each day, dedicate time to calm your mind, meditate, and reflect on life. As you develop your inner self and train your mind, you will not be easily shaken by the storms of life. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Our journey with the principle of unchanging in adaptation is not a short one, but surely, if you persist and practice sincerely, you will notice changes in yourself. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and share it with your loved ones, so that we can spread these values to the community. Please leave a comment below to share your thoughts and experiences about applying the principle of unchanging in adaptation in your life. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to continue joining us on other profound spiritual journeys. Wishing you always peace, calmness, and serenity in every moment of life. Live with an open heart, embrace every challenge with tranquility and understanding. Unchanging in adaptation is the path to true freedom. Thank you, and see you in the next video.